welcome to Auto Today. My name is Abhik and we are on a riverbed right outside of Dehradun. What are we doing here in this, well, very picturesque location? It's a very important day because we're going to drive this car, the new Maruti Suzuki Jimny, possibly the most awaited car of 2023. Stick around for the next few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and drive it in its natural habitat, which is an off-road terrain, as well as on the road, and tell you all there is to know about the new Maruti Suzuki Jimny. So the Jimny you see here is in its 4th generation, but we have received its predecessor much earlier, and you might have guessed it, it was the Gypsy. The Gypsy has served the Indian Army, has served many off-road enthusiasts who've put high lift kits, taken it to very difficult terrains, participated in difficult competitions, and it has been a hot favorite amongst rally enthusiasts as well. Now, ever since the Gypsy stopped production, we haven't really gotten a replacement up until now. What enthusiasts do with this going forward is yet to be seen, but for now let's take a closer look at its design. The front end, for example, is pretty iconic. This grille, the 5-slat grille, it's been carried forward from the original Jimny, likewise with the headlamps, and even in 2023 it looks fabulous. This boxy shape is quintessentially an SUV's shape. Even in this compact dimension, it looks very smart. Maruti Suzuki also follows this philosophy, which is form follows function. So whatever you see here more or less has some function or the other. For example, the straight window lines, the windshield and even the sides, they've been made so that sand, mud, snow doesn't get retained when it's thrown onto the car. Likewise with the wheel arches, they prevent stones and spray from coming onto the car. And most of all, it's the dimension, the under 4 meter length of this entire vehicle, and the fact that it's not too wide means that you can squeeze it in the tightest of gaps in forests, well, even in the urban environment, in parking spaces, or practically anywhere that you see behind me. All this terrain, it's so easy to get this car into the most difficult of places. Some of the other exterior details worth mentioning are the headlamp washers that are included in the top of the line Alpha trim, along with 15-inch alloy wheels, short width 195 section tires. Then there is the offset antenna on the roof, which seems to have been placed such to avoid any obstruction with roof-mounted accessories, and Maruti Suzuki will be selling a variety of them to personalize your Jimny right off the showroom floor. Step inside the Jimny and the utility-focused cabin comes to fore, but even then, plastics seem of very good quality while fit and finish levels are superb. The keen-eyed amongst you will notice the instrumentation, even the font used in it, as a throwback to the Jimny and Gypsy from previous generations. There is a TFT MID between the analog speedo and tacho, and it shows basic running data, while modernity comes in the form of the 9-inch Smart Play Pro Plus infotainment with wireless Android and Apple connectivity. The aircon controls and display have been seen in the Swift before and look pretty smart. And the switch is placed below for the electric front windows, traction control and hill descent control engage positively and reflect the robust build quality. The boot space for a tiny car as this is just about acceptable at 219 litres, expanding to 332 litres with the rear seats folded down. There are, however, a few shortcomings of the Jimny's cabin. So the interior of the Jimny is pretty robust. It does feel solid and built to last. It even has amenities that you expect in a modern day car, but it's not without its flaws. One of them being the total space inside the cabin. This is a very small cabin, especially in its width. There is ample legroom both in the front and the back. There is decent amount of headroom in the front as well. Taller passengers might struggle at the rear, and even larger individuals will struggle with the overall space being offered. This car essentially is for 2 people who would want to carry their equipment at the back and then have the flexibility of occasionally carrying passengers at the back, especially with the extra doors that have been provided over the 3-door version of the Jimny. But all that kept aside, it's time to see how it drives off the road in its natural habitat. Now the Jimny is absolutely phenomenal to drive off the road. It's been built for this terrain and it just shines when the going gets tough. The main talking point is going to be the suspension system. It's a 3-link rigid axle suspension, both front and back, supported by coilovers, and unlike the Gypsy of yore, which used to bounce about a lot, especially at the rear, the Jimny in comparison feels a lot more poised and planted, and even has a lot more traction. You of course have the 4x4 system with a selectable manual lever for 4 high and 4 low, and is powered by the 1.5 litre engine, but in the Jimny it does feel that it packs a lot more low end grunt, which is great when it comes to off-road condition. Now there are a few more details and nuances of the Jimny when it comes to its off-road performance. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at all of those features. The basic requirements of a great 4x4 vehicle is dictated by its underpinnings, and the Jimny uses a traditional ladder frame chassis sprung by the rigid axle suspension that helps maintain tire contact by using opposing forces. So in terrain that forces axle articulation, the wheel that gets pushed up also pushes the opposite wheel down. There is a brake limited slip differential to mitigate wheel slip upon loss of traction, and we experienced all of this out on the specially selected natural course we were driving on. The dry riverbed had rocks of various sizes, testing the 210 millimeters of ground clearance, while ascents and descents showed us the generous 36-degree approach angle, 24-degree ramp breakover angle, and 47-degree departure angle, giving the Jimny an incredible amount of clearance. The short overhangs ensured that there was never a risk of ripping the bumpers off when the terrain got steeper. The entire structure and the size of the Jimny has been well thought out to tackle every terrain imaginable. Then again, to reach such places, the Jimny has to be driven on tarmac. So to get to any difficult off-road terrain, you will have to travel kilometers at times on roads. Good, bad, all sorts of roads, but roads nonetheless. And on the road, the Jimny is actually very, very nice to drive, just almost as nice as it is to drive off the road. It is in fact quite playful thanks to its overall dimension and even the wheelbase. The steering wheel is light. It is a slower steering rack, so it does have slightly more turns built into it, but it's nothing to be bothered about as such. And I honestly thought, like most off-roaders, which do come with softer suspension setup and they're not very enjoyable on the road, the Jimny on the other hand is properly enjoyable even around corners. The body roll is there, but it's quite controlled, and as I mentioned, in its two-wheel drive format and mode, well, it is quite enjoyable to drive on a set of good twisty roads. The engine and gearbox again perform flawlessly. The engine does have grunt, as I've mentioned before. The gearbox is pretty slick. So even out on the highway, you will enjoy driving the Jimny just as much as you would off the road. Fuel efficiency figures have been quoted around 17 kilometers to a litre for the manual and 16.4 kilometers to a litre for the automatic transmission variants. And since the launch is scheduled for the first week of June in 2023, we'll have to guesstimate the prices of the two variants on offer as we're filming this review ahead of the SUV's official launch. It is important to remember that the Jimny is a specialized lifestyle vehicle, thus expecting day-to-day practicality or even drawing comparisons to similarly sized compact SUVs would simply be unfair. The Jimny sees competition in the rear-wheel drive Mahindra Thar, and given Maruti Suzuki's attempt at localizing 95% of the Jimny, we're expecting a price tag ranging from Rs 12 lakh to Rs 15 lakh ex-showroom for the two variants of the uber-capable and exciting new Jimny. Tell us your thoughts on the new Maruti Suzuki Jimny in the comments, and as always, remember to subscribe to Auto Today for the latest automotive content.